So it's common in conservation to reintroduce species. And what I'd like to do today is talk about the importance of thinking about the source population. I'm here today with Ola Olsson, and we're going to talk about white storks. So tell me about this project, Ola.
Yeah, the wild Swedish stork population went extinct in 1954. And then in 89 we started reintroducing them again, and have been doing that since.
And that's in these aviaries we can see here.
It's in these aviaries. Aviaries like these we are that we have been using, and we have stork like these that are sitting here.
Looking a bit miserable in the snow.
They do feel a bit miserable in the snow.
And you've even got one on a nest up on the...
Oh yeah, it's so that's the kind of nest they build. We provide them a platform, and then they build themselves, and it takes them several years to make a nest big like that. And these ones that are staying here in winter, even though they should be in Africa or at least in southern Europe by now, or by several months, they have been raised in captivity and until they're adults, and then released as adults, and then bred in the wild. And sort of that kind of works pretty well. They do breed. They do raise the young, and so on. But if they've been raised in captivity and only released as adults, they will not migrate. Very few of them will migrate.
So these are largely being released as adults, and all the juveniles have disappeared and gone off to
Exactly.
the south.
So that's a good thing, that the juveniles will actually migrate. So even if their parents don't, if there are a flock of at least 100 juveniles being released in the summer, then they will, when August comes, they will leave the country. A handful of them maybe don't, but the other ones will go. And then what we're struggling with now is that they don't really return as much as they should. But that's the next step.
So what do you think the problem is there?
So the problem, I think, is that they don't cross the Baltic again when they're going north.
Okay.
Or they stay on the way, where they have to go through nice stork areas. They have been spending the whole winter, several years. When they're juvenile, they go away for 2, 3, 4 years before they come back. And then they've teamed up with storks from other parts of Europe, and they will stay in other parts of Europe, is what I'm guessing.
And you've had some sightings from Germany, I gather.
We have. So we have a few of our storks are breeding in Germany. That's known. I don't think it's known of any. We don't know of any of them breeding in Poland, but that's very likely that some of them are there.
And the fact you've got all the individuals marked and you know their heritage, you kind of are going to unravel that, I'm sure. Science is going to give you the answer to that eventually.
I hope we will.
Yeah.
But one of the things the problems with the captive populations here is that when we release them, their reproductive success is not quite as high as it should be, and that's especially true for the original population we've been raising, which we got from Switzerland. And the Swiss had gotten them from Algeria in turn, already back in the 1950s. And so we have now been releasing storks in Sweden that are actually Algerian. And they're...
So how are they doing?
Well, they're doing all right.
They're looking a bit miserable today.
They do look miserable. Not quite what they expected. But no, so their reproductive success is too low.
And you've looked at inbreeding, haven't you?
Inbreeding doesn't seem to be part of it. There is a bit of inbreeding, and maybe we do see effects of very, very close inbreedings, but not on the whole.
So what's the cause?
So I think the cause is that, or it may be, either it's the actual sort of genetic source of the origin. So Algeria versus Northeast Europe.
Well, so it could be they've been through a genetic bottleneck, or for some reason they're genetically adapted for North Africa and not for Sweden.
But so just raising them in captivity for many generations seemed to make them less fit for life in the wild.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem. So the ones we've been importing from Poland in the last 20 years, we've been importing 20 batches. The offspring of them, they actually have much higher reproductive success when they are released. So in that sense, the source population does make a difference. And whether it's actually where the geographic area they came from, or the fact that they've been raised for many generations or no generations in captivity, whether it's one or the other thing that makes a difference, I'm not sure.
So it seems the two important lessons are that monitoring the population by monitoring individuals enables you to unravel this and find out what the cause is. And secondly, it shows that the key importance of thinking about the source population and how appropriate it is, and the captive breeding.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you think are the consequences for restoration in general?
Well, I think what you just said is an important consequence, that you need to think through what kind of animals are you raising, for how many generations do you keep them in captivity. You can probably design your program so that you don't keep them in captivity for very long, maybe just one generation, and then you release them. I think that can make a difference, and that's been seen in other species too in the last decade, that has been an effect.
All very interesting, and it'd be nice to be filming these on a warm May day when they're looking very natural.
It is a lot nicer here then, I can tell you.
but really important project, and great to see the science underpinning this work. Thank you.
Thanks.